Hello, I'm Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for all of your comments, and thank you and big welcome to all my new subscribers. In today's video, we will be looking at the major astrological events of 2021 as it relates to the sign Aries. You should watch the video for your rising sign and sun sign, as both will be very informative. 2021 has a lot happening astrologically, so let's get into it. Hello, Aries. This is going to be your 2021 astrological prediction from me. Let's get going. All right, Aries. First of all, 2021 is going to be an awesome year. It's not going to be real quiet. It's still going to be very, very, it's going to be a bang up year. 2020 was a very, very rough year. This is going to have a few points in the year, several points in the year where it is going to kind of slam us, but it's going to be worth it. It's not going to be 2020. It's a completely different year. All right, starting out with January 1st, New Year's Day, we have we have a stellium of planets in Aquarius and a stellium in Capricorn. So Aries, you have a whole bunch of planets in your 10th house going into your 11th house. Very exciting for you. Now, 10th house is your career, has to do with your legacy, what you leave behind, how you stamp your mark on the world. And with the Sun, Mercury, and Pluto all in that 10th house, you are definitely making your mark. This is the year, I would say, in fact, that you are just really, really bringing it home. Now, you have had Pluto up there since 2008. And so I would think that your career has been going through massive, massive transformations. Maybe you went back to school. Maybe you decided to change completely. Maybe you decided to just alter a little bit what you were doing for a career. Or maybe you've done a complete 180. Or maybe you've done a 360. Maybe you did a 180 a few years ago and Pluto said, not so fast. I think you have more work to do here, and made you come back to that career. Whatever it was, Pluto the plow has been just barreling through your subconscious and helping you to transform into what you can be and living up to your potential. As far as a career goes, I would think that it has placed you in a position of great power in your career. And I'm sure that through 2020, you have become much more mindful of just how much power you really wield, especially if you're a boss, if you have employees, or if you're a father and you have children. I'm sure that you are looking at your position in the world and realizing just how much power you really wield. And in January, you're going to have the Sun and Mercury there really informing you. And Mercury is going to give you the voice to speak about this, maybe to teach people about this, maybe to mentor somebody about this. So very exciting on that score, Aries. We also, the great conjunction fell in your 11th house. 11th house is the house of hopes, dreams, and wishes. It's also where we go to retire and to either travel the world or do all the hobbies we never got a chance to do when we were working, or we get to be just as philanthropic as we always wanted to be. So there's a lot of exciting things happening in the 11th house. Right now you have Saturn and Jupiter there. And those energies do complement each other, actually. Capricorn loves the whole father image, right? Because Saturn is ruled by, Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and Saturn is the father of the universe, of the zodiac. So in your 11th house, if you are a part of groups, and these groups have to do with things that you love, which they usually do, hopes, dreams, and wishes, your Saturn is putting you in a position of leadership in those groups, and Jupiter is buoying your leadership position and expanding it. So you may find that for everything that you say yes to, they ask you to do 2 more things. So you may really be involved in groups in some way and really carving out for yourself a place to the point where you realize that at some point your career will come to an end, but this group may just pick up where that leaves off, and you may not be any less busy than you were when you were working in retirement, because this group really just takes over things. And there's Probably nothing wrong with that if it's 11th house, because the 11th house is always going to be where your passions lie, where your hopes, dreams, and wishes, right? And friendships and groups, things like that. So it's not a bad thing at all. It's actually really, really good. Okay, on the 14th of January, we have a new moon in Aquarius, and that's going to highlight those groups and your your participation in those groups a great deal. It may be an emotional thing for you, but it could be that that's when you start your position. That's when you really start being that leader. Because remember, Saturn and Jupiter just started into your 11th house at winter solstice of 2020. So it's not like it's been there for a very long time. So some of this you may be thinking, what group? I'm not a part of it. Yeah, it's coming. On the 16th, Mars is going to conjunct Uranus. Now, Uranus is going to play this little dance with Mars and Saturn throughout the year. And it's uncomfortable, honestly. The energy for Uranus is never super comfortable. Uranus is the planet for chaos, eccentricity, unconventional behavior. It rules things like the internet and space and electricity and horrible big weather events. So, Uranus is big and it's bold and it's crazy. So with combining it with Mars is like difficult, because it can be like big horrible accidents or big horrible events and big weather events, or big fires or something, because Mars might be fire. Several times throughout the year, we're going to have events having to do with either Mars and Uranus or Saturn and Uranus. And I prefer the Saturn and Uranus, because Saturn reins things in and confines it. But Mars is explosions. Mars is knives and war and blood and things like that. So that can be difficult. Now, how does it affect you personally? Mars is in your second house for resources, talents, skills, values, the way you make your money, the way you spend your money. So Mars there could make you all of a sudden really want to go spend your money on a whole bunch of stuff. And that's dicey. Let's not do that. Uranus is right there also in your second house. So you may have been experiencing this compulsion almost to spend money from Uranus for a while, because it's been there for a while. Here's the other thing about Uranus, though. It's also inspiration and creativity. It's also like being touched by God and getting this brilliant idea, and you've got Mars there giving it a lot of energy to enact that idea. So in some ways it could be super, super good, but risky. And so people around you are going to be like, I don't know, this sounds crazy. And you're going to be like, yeah, it's crazy. That's why it's going to work. So just, listen to your significant other. Discuss it with somebody. Don't just blow all your money. Okay. Now, one reason that this first, right out of the gate from the new year, aspect between Mars and Uranus is so strong is because it comes 2 days after Uranus actually goes direct. And Uranus is one of those planets, because it rules big weather events. When it goes direct is when we have big things happen. Like I think one other time when Uranus went direct and it was conjunct, I want to say Mars, we had something like a big nuclear waste leak. Like, not pretty. But that doesn't mean it's good for you personally. Something like that's not going to happen. But it is affecting your finances and values. So just word to the wise, you've been told, so just don't go like, investing in mega millions of Bitcoin when you don't have mega millions and then wonder where your money went. Just be careful, because Uranus, internet, Bitcoin, I just thought it could go together with your second house. Okay. That's it for that chart. Now we're going to look at the end of January. And in the end of January, Mercury goes retrograde for the first time in the year. Now, Mercury is going to be retrograding 3 times this year, all in air signs. So for you, Aries, that's going to hit your 3rd house, your, 7th house, and 11th house. So that 11th house that we were talking about with all the friends, hopes, wishes, and goals in this group that you're going to be a part of. At the end of the year, you'll have a Mercury retrograde there too. So fun. So anyway, Mercury retrograde for this one is going to be in, oh, actually, no, that's this one is in Aquarius. It starts at the end of the zodiac. So Mercury is going to be retrograde right around there. So you may be starting up or looking for this group and trying to join this group, or maybe you've been a part of this group, but you're trying to gain that leadership position or some position in the group, and then Mercury retrograde hits. And so it may prevent that, or it may mean that things have to be delayed. I mean, COVID, hello, delays. I mean, that has been happening for 10 months. So, you know, that's life now, is delays. So that's not surprising, but in this case, it has to do with Mercury being retrograde. On February 11th, we have another moon in Aquarius. It's not a new moon, but it's a moon in Aquarius. Or is it a new moon? Oh, yes, it is a new moon. Sorry, I misspoke. So that would be a good time to look at things for your new group, but you can't really start it because Mercury is going to be retrograde at that time. Then on the 17th, we have Saturn squaring Uranus. So this Uranus stuff happens pretty fast and furious. So the first thing that happens is the Mars conjunct Uranus on the 16th of January. And then the second thing that happens involving Uranus is on February 17th with Saturn squaring Uranus. I mean, this is what we're all in. It's not just you. I mean, we're all getting affected by this. So Saturn squaring Uranus is going from your 11th house to 2nd house. So money issues. It's really going to have to do with money issues. That's what's really going to be at stake here. And unusual things, surprising things, and yet things will be structured or restricted. Or you may have a real focus on it, a real laser focus on it. Maybe that's the time that they say, hey, you should be our treasurer or something like that. I don't know. You're in Aries. I mean, I don't know if treasury is really the thing that is up your alley, but that's the kind of things that are going to be focused on when Saturn squares Uranus. On the 20th of February, Mercury goes direct. Yay, now things can get off the ground with that group that you're joining. And then at the end of the month, on the 27th, we have something beautiful happening. Mars is going to trine Pluto. Now, Pluto is a very powerful planet, and it's in your 10th house. So this is very powerful when you have Mars giving energy to the power planet, because Mars and Pluto are very closely aligned. The ruler of Mars is your sign, Aries, right? Mars is the ruler of Aries. And the ruler of Scorpio is Pluto. But Scorpio used to be ruled by Mars. And this has kept a forever link between Pluto and Mars and Scorpio and Aries. They're both signs that do really, really well with the military. Super, super well. They also do really, really well with weapons. And I hate to say it, but weapons of mass destruction as well. But so your Mars trining the Pluto for your career is a great boost, because that's the universe saying, hey, you're fantastic at your career. Nobody is saying that you need to retire tomorrow. You're doing great. And it's giving you a lot of energy to do some things that maybe you've been striving to do but haven't been able to do. That Mars is just going to give you a big energetic push. And that's at the end of February. So that's very exciting for you. All right, now we have March 8th is when the Sun conjuncts Neptune. This is really beautiful. The Sun conjunct Neptune in Pisces, and Pisces is your 12th house. So for you, this is going to mean extraordinary dreaming. You're going to have dreams that are technicolor, very vivid, beautiful musical numbers. All your best friends from your whole life will be in them. I mean, you'll just have gorgeous dreams all through March. And with your Sun there, you've also got Venus there. So look out for feminine support, feminine energies. So a lot of what you're going to be connecting with is probably females from your life. You also may connect with a few people who have been I don't want to say locked away, but who have been kept at facilities where people kind of forget. I always say the 12th house is about forgotten people, right? Ashrams, mental hospitals, long-term care facilities, rest homes, monasteries, cloisters, places where people purposely stay away from society. And yet what happens is that most of society then begins to forget about them. So this is the house of where people are forgotten. You may dream or actually reach out and connect with somebody in that situation. And you will feel so good for it. It will be a spiritual renewal. It will really lift your heart. Because with Venus and Neptune there, and you're going to have on the 13th, you're going to have a conjunction between Venus and Neptune. So, but they're all very close in there right now and in your 12th house. It's really beautiful. It's really going to be gorgeous for you. Then at the end of the month, you have Venus conjunct with Chiron. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron orbits literally in a figure 8 around Uranus and then Saturn, Uranus and then Saturn, Uranus and then Saturn. And so it goes in and out of signs in a crazy kind of orbit that's, I don't know how they track it, but they do. And it's very often retrograde. But where Chiron sits in your chart is where you have a wound, probably from childhood, but it could be also from young adulthood, that you need to heal. Once you heal that, that is the place where you can heal other people. And by that I mean, like, say you were the unfortunate victim of sexual assault. You go through your whatever you have to go through to heal from that. And now maybe you decide to become a counselor for people who are victims of sexual assault, and you're very successful at it. That's the kind of thing I mean. So whatever kind of wounding you have had, you go through the healing of that wounding, and then you are able to turn around and heal somebody else. And by the way, that's very much a theme of the Aquarian age, that people help people without really thinking about the reward, without it being a transaction. This transactional way of doing things that has been so highlighted in 2020 is falling away. This is just going away. All right. Now let's go on to May. In May, we have our first eclipse of the year, and it takes place in Sagittarius at 5 degrees 26 minutes. Now for you, this is going to be in your... So the 9th house has to do with foreign cultures, cultures that are not of your original birth, religions that are not the religion that you grew up with, philosophy, seeing the world, the publishing industry, the legal industry, things that are a little larger than our normal community. And the eclipse there is going to herald a change of some kind, probably having to do with philosophy or religion, or it could be, some connection that you make with another culture. That could be it too. Then on the 29th, we have our second Mercury retrograde of the year in Gemini. Now, you have a bunch of stuff going on in Gemini, and that's your 3rd house. On the 14th, well, so the moon's not going to be there on the 29th, but on the 14th, you're going to have Mercury along with Venus in that house. So issues having to do with your everyday work, the way that you drive to work, the money that you spend to get your coffee on the way to work, your daily routine chores at work, your neighbors, your siblings, things from your childhood. These are all 3rd house topics. And so your Mercury retrograde is really going to pertain to that. Unfortunately, it's also going to pertain to things like small electronics, small electronics, and any kind of electrical thing that's small or used daily, like your computer. So make sure you back those things up before May 29th. All right, so that's it for that one. And then we come into June. Now, June 10th, we have another eclipse, and it's a solar eclipse, and it's in Gemini also, so it's also going to hit that 3rd house. Now, Mercury is still going to be retrograde at this time, but the solar eclipse is just going to be, again, a big change, a big shift. And depending on your chart, with eclipses, they always herald change. They always bring in some kind of a change, but you may not feel it right on the eclipse. The way that you really feel eclipses is when planets pass over the eclipse point. That's when you really feel the changes. Now, does everybody feel them? Well, it depends. I mean, eclipses really, really affect countries, nations, cities, towns, bigger entities, not individuals so much, although it can. If you have planets at those degrees that the eclipse hits, then you will feel it greatly. So if you have an eclipse that hits, say, the same degree and sign as your ascendant, you will personally be very, very affected by that eclipse. And every time a planet crosses over that point, you will really be, it will refine whatever had to change at the time of the eclipse, or what is changing, because the change may take over a period of months, even years, before you really see the final change that was started from the eclipse. All right, so that's the 10th is the solar eclipse. On the 14th, we have another aspect with Uranus. We have Saturn square Uranus, and they're in pretty much the same spots that they were in as the last time that they had a square. It's having to do with your second house and your 10th house. Your 10th house? Your 11th house, your second house and your 11th, second house and your 11th house. So the 11th house, hopes, dreams, and wishes, and that's where Saturn is, and it's kind of structuring it, refining it, putting restrictions and limitations on it. Also crystallizing, clarifying, laser focus on those items having to do with the 11th house of hopes, dreams, and wishes. And Uranus is in the second house for finances, for resources, for your talents, for the way you spend money, the way you make money. So as you look at those things, you can see that, your impulse may be to give money to this organization that you're becoming a part of. That could be the group, it could be a charitable organization, it could be your fund for your trip around the world. But at this time, something surprising is going to happen with your finances. Maybe you'll get a windfall. Or maybe you'll have a huge bill that you have to pay and you can't make that contribution. Something like that is going to happen with Uranus on a personal level. On a bigger level, though, we may have some, big weather event, or we may see some amazing thing in the news that has to do with Capricornian type things like, the oil industry, the car industry, Saturn rules metal, or Saturn rules some metal, Anyway, something like that is going to be happening. And then on the 22nd, on the 21st, Jupiter goes retrograde and eventually ends up back in Aquarius. So we begin to feel some of those warm, fuzzy vibes of Jupiter in Aquarius again in the middle part of the year. And then on the 22nd, the day after Jupiter goes retrograde, Mercury goes direct. So all that, squeafiness about your third house with Mercury there, the little appliances and the childhood stuff and your neighbors and your neighborhood and your cousins and your siblings, all that stuff gets smoothed away because Mercury is going to go direct. All right, July. Now you notice I'm not just going straight through the months. I'm hitting the points in the year where there are specific astrological events, because things will go by and it's just not that big a deal. So I didn't think it would be a good use of our time to just say every single month. I'd rather go by the astrological events, because that is, after all, what's really going to bring things out. Now on July 1st, we have a square between Mars and Uranus. Saturn and Uranus, Mars and Uranus, all year. They just keep going back and forth, kind of in a dance. By now, Mars is in Leo. Mars is just zipping through the signs in 2021. Mars sometimes really goes much slower than this. So this is going to be a year full of energy. And when you couple that with the Great Conjunction having occurred in an air sign, we are going to, I'm sure you've noticed that time has sped up. 2020, like that, it just was so fast. And now that Saturn and Jupiter were in air signs, now all of our time and energy is really going to feel sped up. But Mars is moving like a son of a gun. So we're even more so just going to feel like, whoa, 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 whoa. However, unlike 2020, we will have more energy. We will feel like we are in control of our energy. Whereas I don't know about you, but I felt in 2020, I just wasn't in control of my energy. I would wake up some days and just be like, oh, I really have to get out of this bed. You know, like my energy just wasn't supporting me at all. And I think, you know, planetary energy is real, you know, and it affects you. Okay, so July 1st, we have this square between Mars and Uranus. And how is that going to affect you? So Mars is in Leo. Mars is in Leo. Uranus is in Taurus. So that is the Mars in Leo is trining your ascendant, but it is squaring your second house of Taurus, which is where Uranus is. I was going to say Aquarius because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. Money that you didn't expect to spend, having to do with children, games of chance, sports, love affairs. So there could be an unexpected bill due with that stuff, or there could be a big blowout. There could be a big emotional blowout with your kids, or having to do about an affair, or having to do with an actual love affair. You could blow up with your lover, or if you are taking risks in the stock market, not good. It's not going to be a good day. So that's a time to be careful. September 27th, Mercury goes retrograde for the third time in the year, but in the sign Libra. And for you, Aries, that's going to fall in your 7th house. So you're going to have lots of miscommunications with your partner and anybody who's your partner, not just like a spouse. It could be anybody that acts as a partner in your life. You're going to have miscommunications and misdirections with that person. All the planets are kind of bunched up in your 4th house and then your 7th and 8th house right now. So yeah, it's real focusing on relationships. 4th house has to do with your home and what's going on in your home. Mercury, like I said, is going retrograde in Libra, and that's your 7th house. It doesn't go direct until October 18th, which is actually just the average length of a Mercury retrograde. It's usually about 3 weeks. So you just have to be careful with things having to do with your partners. That's really what it's all about. Also, that 7th house rules open enemies. So you're vulnerable now. If somebody who has, declared themselves your enemy, this is when they're going to really try to strike. Now, who knows where Mercury retrograde is falling in their chart? They may not have good luck, but you definitely are vulnerable. Let's see. What else do we have going on here? I think we can go on to November 15th. This starts November 15th is when we have the big showdown between Mars and Uranus. Mars has gone into Scorpio. I'm telling you, it's just zipping through the signs this year. Mars has gone into Scorpio, and it is opposing Uranus in Taurus. So this is going across your 2nd and 8th houses. So this is really focusing on your money and your partner's money. You represent the money part with Uranus there. So your money's all crazy and eccentric. And this could be, having Uranus in your 2nd house for a long period of time, Aries, could be indicative of a period of time where you have a lot of money coming in, and then a desert, no money coming in, and then a lot of money coming in, and then no money coming in. That's a very typical thing because Uranus is eccentric. It's chaos. It's uneven. It's not smooth. It's now you see it, now you don't. It's unconventional, and it's erratic. That's the word I'm searching for. It's erratic. And then it's opposing Mars in Scorpio in your 8th house. Mars in Scorpio in the 8th house is telling us that you're going to be really putting a lot of energy into your partner's money. So your partner may be going gangbusters with their money, and maybe you have a lot to say about where they put their money, and maybe they don't want it, and maybe you have a big blowout about that. or you can't do what you want to do, or something unexpected is going to go on, and it has to do with your partner's money and the energy that you want to put in with your partner's money, or how you want to manage your partner's money. And the Uranus in the second house that is saying, you know, that your money is erratic, that your money isn't going the right way. Then we round out the year on Christmas Eve, where we have the final showdown with Saturn squaring Uranus. So Saturn in Aquarius, that's your 11th house, is squaring Uranus in Taurus, that's your second house. So again, we have this emphasis on money, but in this instance, it's your money. It's what's going on with your money. And with your money right here, I think you're going to be much more conservative. However, you have that Uranus in your second house for quite some time. So it's just not going to be easy with that. You're going to really have to pay attention to things that are going on. Or maybe you're used to this. You know, maybe it's been there for so long that you're just kind of used to it. And maybe that's the kind of work that you do, that maybe it's contract work, or maybe it's like the restaurant business or something, where sometimes it's really up and sometimes it's really down. Maybe it's real estate where, you know, you sell a few houses and you have great money coming in and then nothing happens for 6 months. It's that kind of thing going on with Uranus in the second house, where it's erratic, very erratic. And then on the 30th of December, we have Jupiter finally going into Pisces again. And this is, you know, just compassion and love and really deep, good feeling. And that's going to be in your 12th house. So you're going to feel compassion for people who cannot get out, cannot help themselves, are in maybe institutions. This is the social worker, right? Jupiter in Pisces. This is the person that really wants to help their fellow human who cannot help themselves, or is, like I said, just locked away and forgotten. So it's a beautiful way to end the year. A lot of beautiful energy, a lot of beautiful psychic and clairvoyant and visionary energy there. And it's certainly going to be sparking your dreams and what's going on. And you know, Neptune has been in Pisces for a very long time, and it will stay there for a very long time. And so your dreams are probably really glorious and imaginative and beautiful. And having Jupiter go into your 12th house will just magnify that tenfold. So that's what's going on for 2021, Aries. It's a year with, it's punctuated by those Uranus aspects to Mars and Saturn, off and on, off and on, off and on. It's just really, really interesting to see how that dance goes. But you can see what the themes are for your year, and it's going to be an exciting year. So thank you so much for listening to the end of the video. I hope you really liked it. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what's going on, even if it's not right away. I mean, yes, I would love for you to leave me a comment right away. That would be awesome. And also to like the video and be subscribed and all of that stuff. But as you go through 2021, you may want to refer back to this video. And when you do, or when you just notice something that has happened that the video predicted, please leave me a comment and let me know. I'll be watching to see if people are commenting, to see that the predictions really hit the mark. Okay, that's it. Have a great 2021, and I'll see you later, Aries. Thank you.